Welcome back to the channel and to hopefully cutting all the slots on the rails, stiles and other parts of the frame, like the four corners of each of the cupboards. That's what I'm planning this afternoon. But firstly, I want to give a shout out to all of the new subscribers to the channel. We're knocking on 300 now, and I couldn't have believed that possible, but more of that later. So first things first, I'm just going to get the slot cutter set to the right height and then work out how I'm going to safely cut the shaped parts of the rails with the slot without it being ripped from my fingers and dragging my fingers into the cutter. So safety first, let's get set up. So as I've done before, I'm just going to adjust the height based on the panels. So the face side, and that's where everything is adjusted to. So just raise the cutter and a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so the next thing, as with last time, I need to be able to cut that part of the slot, and that the bearing is giving me the depth, but I've also got enough manoeuvring room with the fence so that still the vacuum's going to work. Now, as I said, I need to make sure that I'm working safely, and so I need to keep my fingers well out of the way. Now, as I did last week, I'm going to use the push pads just to keep some pressure here to stop things moving this way toward me. I've got the finger whatever, name's gone, to stop everything jumping up. So let's give this a go on the test piece. That cut very nicely. Okay, yeah, this is a test piece. That's why the slot's quite a lot wider, but that was very nice. There was enough slip on the pad to keep it moving, but it meant I could keep my finger well away from the cutter. That's fine. So let's go to the first of the rails and cut this bit in earnest. Look at that, that's nice, that is. Oh, I'm chuffed. Okay, so let's get all the other pieces done. Excellent. I'm really pleased with those. Right. Now the next step, I'm just going to do the rails on all of these first. Those are going to be the quickest, and that way I can just put another fingerboard in, and that's going to keep everything nice and straight. Those are, because they're just straight cuts, they're going to be very, very quick and easy to do. The thing that will challenge are the stiles and the cupboard uprights, because I'm working between the mortises. So that's where I've got to be careful about positioning of things. Okay, so the stock is all face side down, and face edge will automatically be against the fence. So all I'm doing is off and through. So there's the push stick. And what a fine set of stock that is. That was even quicker than I anticipated. Now you'll have noticed on one of the pieces I was having a bit of problem because of the tear out from cutting the tenons was just impeding the edge of the fence, but everything's worked out nicely. Right, so that's that. I've now just got to do the slots on the stiles and uprights, and as I mentioned, that's going to need a little bit of working out where to start and finish because it's between the two mortises. Right, I think I've come up with a way to do it. The mortise with the face edge and face side. So what I thought of doing was extending that line there for the start of the mortise onto the side opposite the face, like that, and then this end as well. Then with the sight line now, I can go in like that, run it along, and then out. So that's what I'm thinking. Let's see how it works in practice. And that's worked pretty well. So, yeah, let me mark all the other stiles up and then I can cut these. So as before, the stock is face side down, face edge away from me, so I just pick it up against the fence. There we go. And that's all the stiles done. Let me do the uprights. the only thing I need to do now is mark up which part of the upright needs cutting for the slot, and then it's the same process. So all of the sides that need cutting are upright, are on the top at the moment, and top and bottom, and you remember that there are there's a slot in the middle as well, that's for the shelf support. So the slot will go the side opposite where the shelf support is. So this is just for my own reference. So what I'll need to do when I put these in order is the slot for the shelf support needs to be at the top, and the face side needs to be inwards. Okay, so this is where I need to be very careful that I'm getting the correct part marked. Now that bit's already done, but I'll just emphasize it. So on the top, that's like that. So this one, that's going to be on the top. That's already marked. That's already marked. As is that. Now I've had to move them from here because these uprights are just too long. Now that does look nice. Excellent. So all the slots are cut. So all of the slots are now cut. I've now got a little bit of working out to do, because the top of the cupboard obviously is going to have a top to it. It's what I'm calling shelf number 3 in each of the cupboards, and I want to inset that into all of the pieces that I'm working with. So the top rail on front and back will have a rabbit cut. The top rail of each of the sides will have a rabbit cut, and I need to work out how I'm going to cut those so that everything will be flush to the top. There is also the insetting of the bottom shelf of all of both cupboards. So the bottom rails front and back, and the bottom rails on either side. Now those will be cut on the top of the rails so that the shelf is flush with the bottom edge. That's my plan. I need to work out how I'm going to cut those. I've got plenty of cutters, I've got no problems with that, but it's just a case of working out what pieces I'm going to be cutting, how far I'm going to be cutting, and probably cut them in 2 passes so that I'm not burdening either the cutter, the wood, or the machine as well. So let me get pieces ready, and then I'll work out which order I'm going to be doing things. Right, now this is just for one cupboard. I've got shelf 3 of both cupboards here. That's just somewhere to keep them, but that's going to be the top rail. That's the face side, and really for the purpose of this, it's going to have to be the inside. So that will be like that. That's the bottom rail, that's the top rail, that's the bottom rail. So that will be like, sorry, that's the top rail at the back, that's the top rail at the front. So that's going to be like that. The 2 side rails will be there-ish. So I'm going to be cutting a rabbit here and here, and on the opposite end as well. So there we are. The shelf is 15.5, and yeah, about they are 15.5 mil. I couldn't remember whether they were the same thickness as the panels or not, but they are. Okay, so 15.5mm, and they're going to be going into all of these, which are 19. So apart from the full depth of 15mm, they will only need about half that. So let's call it 10mm, roughly there. So it's just that corner that's going to come out, and they're going to go down by 15mm. So it will impinge a little on the tenons, but I'm not worried about that. There's plenty of strength in these tenons to take all of that. Right, so 10mm. I really need to have a cutter that is wider than that, so that I'm not cutting full width as well. I'm not cutting a slot, I'm just cutting a rabbet. So I'll be cutting against the fence, and I want to be able to have quite a bit of the cutter on the far side of the fence as well. So let me decide what cutter I'm using. This is just for one cupboard. I've got shelf 3 of both cupboards here. That's just somewhere to keep them. But that's going to be the top rail. That's the face side, and really for the purpose of this, it's going to have to be the inside. So that will be like that. That's the bottom rail, that's the top rail, that's the bottom rail. So that will be like, sorry, that's the top rail at the back, that's the top rail at the front. So that's going to be like that. The 2 side rails will be there-ish. So I'm going to be cutting a rabbet here and here, and on the opposite end as well. So there we are. The shelf is 15.5, and yeah, about they are 15.5mm. I couldn't remember whether they were the same thickness as the panels or not, but they are. Okay, so 15.5mm, and they're going to be going into all of these, which are 19. So apart from the full depth of 15mm, they will only need about half that. So let's call it 10 mil, roughly there. So it's just that corner that's going to come out, and they're going to go down by 15 millimeters. So it will impinge a little on the tenons, but I'm not worried about that. There's plenty of strength in these tenons to take all of that. Right, so 10 mil. I really need to have a cutter that is wider than that, so that I'm not cutting full width as well. I'm not cutting a slot, I'm just cutting a rabbet. So I'll be cutting against the fence, and I want to be able to have quite a bit of the cutter on the far side of the fence as well. So let me decide what cutter I'm using. So I've got everything. That's the 25 mil, 20 and all the way down to 15. So I think I'm going to go for that one, which is 18. That will give me plenty behind the fence, so I'm not cutting a slot. So, and that, of course, I can go up to the full speed of the machine of 30,000 RPM. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for that one, and just mark now where I'm going to cut each piece, because as I said before, I'm going to be looking at the top shelf, which is shelf number 3, and then I'm going to be looking at the bottom shelf, shelf number 1, and all of them will be cut on the top of the workpiece. So for some, now I'm just thinking about this, doing that on the top of the cupboards is fine. That's going to inset in. But if I'm going to be cutting the shelf number 1 support, the rail, that will be like that, with the panel in there. So I'm going to need to inset that. Can that be done? Now this is doing the full height, full width there of 10 millimeters. That's going to be fine for insetting in the top. It's about halfway, roughly halfway. But if I'm going to be insetting into the bottom rails, 10 millimeters is going to impinge on the slot for the panel. Now, I hadn't reckoned on this. So if I cut because I really need to have quite an overlap so that the weight of what it's carrying won't make the whole piece sag. Now that is 8mm exactly. It's going to come down by 15, which is there. That's going to be no problem. It's just the width of everything. So because if I go like that, just a matter of how big do I make this support at the two ends. How much support do I need? That's where I'm going to have to give this one some thought. And if anyone has any ideas, then please let me know in the comments so that I can incorporate that. I know I have in the past with the sewing box, for example, I put extra support on the inside, and I can do that here. That would be no problem because it's not going to be seen with the panels here and the shelf number 1 inset on the inside. That is going to be a void that it won't be seen because it will be underneath. So imagine that's like that. That's the shelf that's been inset, and I could put a support here and perhaps just glue or create a slot to hold the support. I don't know, but as I say, let me know in the comments if you've got any thoughts. But that's I just need to mark which pieces now I'm going to be cutting where and how. Right, that's as far as I'm going to go today. I need to be able to think clearly when it comes to making these next cuts, so I'm not going to even attempt to lay out that piece yet. But we've got quite a long way. I've got all of the slots cut, and I've decided which cutter I'm going to be using for the next rabbits. So that's for next time. As I said earlier, I really want to say thank you for your support. Welcome to all of the new subscribers, and I just hope that you're finding what I'm doing and the thinking process that I'm going through. I'm having to talk through this for my own benefit, and that's why I started the channel in the first place, so that I could talk it out with somebody and then know exactly what I'm doing. And so if you've got any comments, what steps I need to take next, then please let me know in the comments. I'm always grateful for your support, the suggestions you make, and so we'll leave it there. I'll see you next time.